Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Astros, and I'm here to talk about the first four starters for the first Oakland series, the first series of the year for the Astros. Recently, Dusty Baker named our first four starting pitchers going into the season, so the start of our rotation. He hasn't named the fifth one yet. I assume it's going to be Jake Odorizzi, but we do know the first four, so I want to talk about them going into the season, which is just a couple of days away, which is insane. I'm so excited. So, opening day starter, no shock, Zack Greinke. I mean, this is an obvious one. I mean, Zack Greinke, the man, the myth, the legend himself. He had a pretty okay 2020. It looks a little bad on the outset, right? A 4.03 ERA. That's not great. That's meh, especially as your starting ace, essentially. However, through his first 7 starts, he actually started really, really well. He had a 2.68 ERA, which was pretty fantastic through the first couple of games. He had a really bad September, which was, that inflated the whole number to the 4.03. In September, he had a 6.08 ERA, which is yikes through those starts. And he had a whip for the season at 1.134. But his FIP for the season, I've talked about FIP a lot of times on this channel, again, fielding independent pitching, home runs, walks, strikeouts, was only at 2.80, which is very, very good. And that was actually his third best FIP for a full season in his career. So that's pretty darn good. And all of that was in 67 innings pitched for Zack Greinke in 2020. In 2019, after we acquired him at the deadline, Zack Greinke played a few games for us. He pitched 62 2/3 innings after the deadline. In those games, he posted a 3.02 ERA, a 154 ERA plus, which is very, very, very good, and a whip at 1.069. Nice. And he will be getting, like I said, the opening day start going into opening day. That's obvious. That wasn't a shock. Number 2, however, was sort of a shock. Christian Javier takes the second spot. I assume that he's just sort of filling that spot until Framber Valdez comes back, hopefully in May. But Javier gets the second spot. And, I kind of get it. He had a nice rookie season in 2020, which is the only season he pitched at the major leagues. In 54 1/3 innings, he had a 3.48 ERA, a 129 ERA plus, and a whip at .994. But his FIP, 4.94. That's kind of rough. That's pretty up there. And I really thought this was Lance McCullers' spot. I was kind of shocked that we said it was Javier's. That sort of threw me for a little bit of a loop. Now, on to the third spot that actually is Lance McCullers. The third starter is Lance McCullers Jr., the king of Minute Maid himself. Lance, fresh off of his extension that I talked about a few days ago, will be the third starter going into 2020. Now, in his 2020 statistics, in his 55 innings, he posted a 3.93 ERA. Now, I talked a lot about Zack Greinke, Lance McCullers and his home and road splits. And there's a few videos you can check out if you want to hear me talk more about that. His extension video and what to expect for spring training video. I talk a lot about that. So I'm not going to go into that right now. But this season, he had a 3.7 whip. Or FIP, which is better than his 3.93 ERA. But if you remove that horrifying Diamondback start back in, I don't remember, I think that was his 6th start of the year. I have a video on it if you want to go dig through my recaps from last year. That awful one where he gave up 8 runs in just a little over 3 innings. If you remove that one game, his ERA drops from 3.93 to 2.82, which is insane. Now, that's not just removing those runs, but keeping the innings. That is removing his innings, and that is removing those runs. So just erase that start. Say he had an upset stomach that day, didn't pitch, drops it over a point, which is crazy. Again, 2.82. I understand that would have only been in 11 games, but Verlander in 2019 won the Cy Young with a 2.58. So that's just a hair over 2 points difference, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, if you remove that one start and you look at FIP, not a bad season for Lance McCullers. And I was really blown away to realize that if you just remove that one game, it drops that drastically. So yeah, take one game away that he probably would have been able to flatten out the more the season goes along, since again, that was only basically a third of a season for McCullers. I have high expectations going into this next season. And then in 2018, another season he pitched before the Tommy John surgery. In 128 and one-third innings, Lance McCullers had a 3.86 ERA, a 3.51 or 50 WHIP, or FIP, excuse me. And his WHIP was 1.169. Nice. And on to the fifth starter, the fourth starter that we know for a fact will be getting the fourth start, Jose Urquidy. I think he has a real shot to break out this year. I've been very surprised and impressed with Urquidy the past 2 years. His rookie season was pretty nice, and there was that insane World Series game 4, I believe, where he was sort of fighting. We were all fighting for our World Series lives. The 5 innings of 2-hit, no-walk baseball. I'm still blown away from that game. But Urquidy will be getting the fourth spot in the rotation. His 2020 stats, there aren't a lot of them. He only pitched 29 and 2/3 innings. He missed the first bit with, I think it was mostly an injury and then COVID. But in the games that he did pitch in 2020, he posted a 2.73 ERA, which is very, very good, a WHIP at 1.011, and a 166 ERA+, which is fantastic, superb, any words you want to put there. And after a fairly short first start, where he only went, I believe, 4 innings, the last 4 of the season went 6 innings, 7 innings, 6 innings, and 7 innings. Which is good, since our bullpen is still going to be held together by Pine Tar, Big League Chew, and any leftover bat tape, because we didn't add any relievers in free agency. Have I mentioned that I'm still kind of bitter about that anyway? So hopefully, he'll be able to go, farther into starts as a fourth pitcher and as a fourth arm in the rotation. That would be great. And then his 2019 stats, he only pitched 41 innings in his rookie season. Well, it was his first taste of the big leagues, I suppose, because I believed. Did he qualify as a rookie last year? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, in 2019, in his 41 rookie innings, he had a 3.95 ERA and a 1.098 WHIP. And that World Series start that I already mentioned. So yeah, that will be the rotation that we know. I assume Jake Odorizzi will get the other spot, but I'm not quite sure right now because his spring training was only 2 games, and one of them was he had a 68 ERA after the first game. Not .68, but 68.00, which is bad. So that is what we know right now. Again, opening day is just in a few days. I am super excited for the marathon of a season. We're back to the 162s and not that crappy 60 game little sprint that we had last year. I'm excited, guys. I'm so excited for opening day. I'm so excited for baseball to be back. I love talking about baseball. That's why I made the whole channel. Anyway, thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, go Astros.